Hey guys, Arian here, and I know it's been a while since I last uploaded, but I I do I don't have a good reason for it, but mostly because I lost motivation for all of it. But I decided I'm gonna come back to doing what ifs and uploading on this channel in general. So I've decided I'm going to start remaking some of the series as I didn't since after I started losing motivation, the quality of my content just kind of spiraled downwards. So anyway, this is what if Deku had Ink Sans powers, part 1 remake. You know, so it was a normal day at Deku's elementary school or kindergarten, whatever you want to call it. Deku was about 4 years old, and he he was having a normal day, and he decided he wanted to paint. He decided he wanted to paint something on a blank canvas. When he pulled out a once he pulled out a paintbrush, the ink started to flow through the air as he moved it around, and Deku, confused by this, just kept waving it around, and the trail of ink followed the tip of the paintbrush. And everyone looked at awe as he drew a giant dragon-looking creature made of bones. And when he did, the the dragon head made of ink sprayed a bunch of ink all across the classroom, getting multiple people soaked in it. And when the teacher walked in, he saw the entire classroom sprayed with ink and decided to call Izuku's mother. Then Izuku was rushed to the hospital to check what had just happened, and then he was informed by the doctor that Deku had just awakened his quirk. And while they're not sure what it is yet, they think it has something to do with ink. So flash forward a couple of years, in when Deku's around 8 years old, he was walking through the halls of his elementary school when he finds Bakugo, who decided he was going to prove that he was even better than Deku, because Deku had a pretty good quirk, as he was able to make anything out of ink. Bakugo decided bullying people to prove that he was superior to everyone else. And when Izuku was walking through the halls, he spotted a boy with white skin and white hair, pinned against his locker by Bakugo and two extras. Izuku rushed over to them and then shoved Bakugo out the way, and then took the stranger's hand and ran down to the other side of the hallway. There the stranger introduced himself as Kara, and Izuku introduced himself as well. And the two and Kara's thanks Izuku for saving him, and Izuku said it was no problem at all. So the two ended up becoming good friends over the course of elementary school. And they became even better friends when they went to the same middle school. And by then, towards the end of their last year at middle school, they both applied for the UA entrance exam. Then the middle school teacher shouted out to the class, "All right, so now that your time at middle school is coming to an end, you need to start thinking about your future." But then the teacher tosses all the papers up into the air and then says, "But screw it, who cares? I know you're all going down the hero path." And the entire class starts celebrating and using their quirks. This, of course, This, of course, causes the teacher to quiet down the class and says, "We have 3 people going to UA this year." And then, and then he lists off the 3 names: Bakugo, Izuku, and Kara. Everyone, everyone, no one bats an eye except for a few people who stare at Kara, saying, "Whoa, that loser with that weak quirk, man, man, no, I don't. I think I think he'd fail before he even gets to try." Then Izuku starts defending Kara while Bakugo says, "Shut it, damn nerd. Why do you hang out with such a weakling anyways?" And then the entire class has an awkward pause of silence as the bell then rings and the class is excused. Then a few minutes after class, Kara says, "Hey, Izuku, you wanna hang out in my house for a while?" And then Izuku says, "Nah, I'm fine. But if you wanna come to my house, that we can go hang out there." So Kara accepts Izuku's deal, and they decide to take a shortcut home under a bridge. And then the both of them see an open manhole with green ooze dripping out. And then a villain made of sludge rises out from the goop, saying, "Wow, two for one. I didn't think I'd get this lucky. If I'm quick, then I won't be caught by All Might." The two of them look in shock as the sludge villain slowly makes their way towards them. Then Izuku takes out a paintbrush from his pocket and starts painting the air in front of him, creating one of those ink dragon heads that he'd made back in kindergarten, and the dragon head ended up spewing a bunch of ink straight at the sludge villain, pushing it back a few feet. Then Kara used his quirk, which I haven't explained yet. Basically, it's a quirk called Overwrite, and what that quirk does, it allows Kara to sort of manipulate reality to a small extent. So he can copy the attacks of the quirks of others to a small extent, like using one attack, and then or he can destroy any non-living thing by just looking at it. He can sort of destabilize it, making him really good against fighting robots. But he hasn't found much use for his quirk, which is why a lot of people call him weak and useless. But so, uh, Kara uses his quirk to clone Izuku's ink blaster, and makes multiple copies of it, spraying the sludge villain even further. And he keeps on copying them until he hears a voice coming from the open manhole. "I am here." A man with stylish blonde hair and big muscles jumped out of the manhole and punched the air so hard that it caused shockwaves that blew the sludge villain to pieces. Then the two looked in shock as their idol All Might was standing in front of them. Both of them immediately started to fanboy at the sight of their idol, when All Might reminded them that he needs to collect the sludge villain and turn him into the police before he can reform. Then the two let their idol off before Izuku realizes that he forgot to ask All Might to sign his notebook. But whatever, it's fine. As long as they were safe from that sludge villain, anything. It was better than being captured by that sludge villain. So the two of them walked home and had some dinner and played together for the night. And then they after that day, they decided to go to a nearby beach to train and get a better hold of their quirks for the UA entrance exam, as they hadn't have much experience due to quirks being strictly prohibited, because quirk usage was strictly prohibited in public. So the two of them went to a beach that everyone threw their trash in, and asked a police officer for special permission to use the beach as a training ground. They got the permission as long as they didn't use their quirks outside of the beach, and then that's where they spent a few months training together. Izuku got more and more ideas on how to use his quirk, like having more efficient ink blasters, as he called them, which were the dragon heads made of ink. While got Kara got better hold of override and also could clone more things faster, and could also destabilize things quickly, destroy non-living objects quicker. And that's where I'm gonna leave it off for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Next part will be doing the UA entrance exam. I decided to make this quick because this is my first time getting back into the what if genre. So I'll see you guys soon, in maybe a week or two, because I won't be able to make a video in between. But anyway, I'll see you soon. Bye.